it was so surprising to me because your body is weak at certain points and strong at other times. And when it comes to words that you don't understand, it's strange that to some of them you respond positively and to some of them you respond negatively. If you can only support creators who provide value and make you think, please consider contributing to my Patreon page the next time you watch one of my videos. Hello everybody and welcome. Today I wanted to talk about muscle testing. I know that a lot of people have been introduced to this concept before, but still not many actually understand what it is, and I also wanted to explain why I personally find it useful. So muscle testing is kind of a mechanism of asking your body what is correct for it. The first time I was introduced for it was actually with a nutritionist, which my mom took me to in high school, I believe, at some point. And she gave us like all these minerals and vitamins and stuff like that, and used the words and then tested them on our bodies to see if they wanted that particular mineral and in what dosages and whatnot. And it was very strange to me because so many of the words I didn't understand, but she assured me that my body would know if they needed it or not. And sure enough, I had different reactions to different ingredients and whatnot. And it was so surprising to me because your body is weak at certain points and strong at other times. And when it comes to words that you don't understand, it's strange that to some of them you respond positively and to some of them you respond negatively. So a little background on how muscle testing affects the body and what exactly that means. When you ask the body, essentially, what it is that it wants with like yes or no questions, you get strong or weak responses. And usually this is done by somebody like holding out their arm and then a second person pushing down on it, usually somewhere in here. And the body will either remain rigid, it'll remain up, or it'll dip slightly, kind of like that, for a negative response. Now obviously you can't do this yourself if this is the only kind of mechanism you've learned muscle testing with, but thankfully I know a couple methods that might work for you. But essentially you can ask your body just about any yes or no question and it'll give you a response. Now there is a little caveat to muscle testing, and that is your personal bias can affect the result. So if you're asking it about a personal situation, you might get a yes or no depending on what you want to get, not necessarily what is accurate. And there are many times where I ask my body, am I getting an accurate response? And even then it'll say yes, but I find out that it's not because my bias is so strong that I am affecting the question about whether the answer was accurate or not. So obviously you have to use your own discretion, and honestly I don't necessarily trust muscle testing to the degree that I will go with anything that it says is correct. But I use it kind of like I use tarot cards, which is a mechanism for reconnecting with my subconscious, understanding my own internal belief structures and understanding my own thoughts on the subject. So if I get a yes in muscle testing but I really wanted a no, then at least I have been pointed back to my internal no, and then I can follow that. So it's not necessarily that I follow the indications of muscle testing, more that I use it as a mechanism for understanding myself and my thoughts better. So I started studying muscle testing when I read this book and watched a couple of videos by the author called The Emotion Code. And he has a further program called The Body Code, which I bought and studied for a little bit as well. But essentially, he talks about trapped emotions in the body are what cause physical ailments within you. Now, obviously, that's not entirely true because you could fall down and break your wrist, and that's not necessarily an issue of emotion. I mean, it could be, like you're distracted, so therefore you fall, but it's not a reaction to a trapped emotion within you. It's kind of a spontaneous action. What he's talking about is lingering ailments, and I'm assuming he's talking about things like cancer or like internal blockages or artery clogs and all these other things. So, and maybe even some spots of pain, like when your arm throbs for no reason. Those are never fun. But he's saying that essentially we all have trapped emotions at different parts of our body, and when you seek them out and clear them, you can heal from those experiences and then allow your body to come back into full alignment as well. Now, there is something that he really likes to tell his students, which is you can only find one emotion at the time. And within that area, there could be several trapped emotions. So you could spend 10 minutes removing a blockage from, say, like your shoulder, which is actually a place where I have somewhat consistent pain. Mostly it occurs when I've been driving a lot or when I've been hunched over my computer too long. So I don't know if it's trapped emotion or, trauma from car accidents or whatever the case may be. I do know that it came after a car accident, so it's possible that it is lingering pain and therefore lingering emotion, or a spot that I naturally send negative emotion to reside. I don't know. But whatever the case may be, he says that in spots of pain, there can be several emotions, and you have to clear them one at a time. You can't clear them in bulk. And the way that you clear them is by running a magnet down the governing meridian. Now that's kind of like this energy center that runs down the center of your body, all the way around. Usually you go with the back, though, because that's where your spine is. So you go along the spine, that's where your governing meridian is. So on another person, you would run a magnet down their spine. But on yourself, you actually go from the forehead to the back of the neck. And he says that any magnet can do this, even your fingers can, because they're slightly magnetic as well. And I actually found this to be true, because at one point when I was truck driving, I got a strange case of hives for no reason from a product I'd been using for years known as laundry sheets. And for whatever reason, I randomly reacted to the laundry sheets and got really big, angry hives all over. And it took me a couple days to figure out what exactly I had done differently. But when I figured out that it was the laundry sheets, then I started doing muscle testing to clear the energy. Now, it took a while, and I wasn't about to, go right back into using laundry sheets after that, because I was like, that was a terrible memory of that time. So I kind of left it alone for a while, but eventually I did go back and try laundry sheets again, and I had absolutely no reaction. So it was humorous to me, and it was a kind of an indicator that this stuff does actually work. I don't know why. Possibly a placebo effect. Maybe it genuinely releases something. I have no idea. But whatever the case may be, it does seem to work. So it does help to clear the energy, and if you get used to muscle testing and you want to try clearing some energy within yourself, I know that this author talks about like a heart wall, which is an emotion, like blockage around your heart that prevents you from truly loving. You can try clearing that. It's an interesting experiment at the very least. So now let's get into specific ways in which you can muscle test on yourself. There are 3 methods that I know of that you can do yourself to muscle test. And the first one involves using just 2 fingers. So essentially you use your middle and your upper finger, and when you ask yourself a question, you push down on your middle finger with your upper finger. If you have a yes answer, it won't move you. If you no answer, you'll kind of get this kind of thing. It's very, very subtle, but you should be able to feel it. Another way you can do it is you interlock your pointer finger and your thumb, and you go over like that, you can see, and then when you ask a question, you kind of pull, and you want to keep them lightly connected. Don't try to force them to stay close, but when you get a no, usually your fingers will kind of slip apart like that, and when you get a yes, they'll stay together. Personally, neither of these has worked particularly well for me, so I go with this third method, which is actually using your forearm here. And you kind of go like that. You hold it at a 90 degree to your body, and then when you ask a question, you press down on this part of your arm. So if you get a yes, your arm will stay still. If you get a no, you'll get kind of this. which is a much stronger reaction than the other two, which is part of the reason why I prefer that form of muscle testing as well. Something to be aware of, sometimes you do need to clear a misalignment in the spine before you can get accurate responses, and it's going to be a little bit harder to tell exactly if you have them or not when your body's misaligned, because you won't get an accurate answer. So it could benefit you at times to go ahead and clear misalignments before you start muscle testing, but you can also just check with yes or no questions, such as like things that you know are true and know that are false. So I can say my name is Allie or my name is Bob and it's a very different reaction physically. If you get the same reaction physically, then it's pretty much guaranteed that you have a misalignment or that there's some other issue going on and you might need to test on somebody else. And if you need to test on somebody else for yourself, use this method where they stretch their arm out to the side and you push down and you tell them light resistance. That's not always the easiest thing for people to understand though, so you may not get accurate responses there either. That's why you have to check with things that you know are true and false on them as well. So give it a try. Muscle testing is a very interesting thing. I don't know to what extent it works, I don't know to what extent it doesn't, but it's definitely an interesting tool and I recommend giving it a shot. So that's everything I have for you. Thanks for watching. I hope you like and subscribe and share this video. Definitely leave a comment if you have any questions or to let me know what your experience with muscle testing is. And I will talk to you again soon. Bye.